All right, let's talk about this NFC West here, Sam. San Francisco, not a team that we love, but I understand why they're sitting as the favorite. But we're not laying a price here. It's very different compared to just about every other division. They are a plus 160 favorite at BetMGM. Your second favorite, the Rams, pretty close, plus 185. So we've got a 10.5 win total for the Niners, 9.5 juice to the over for the Rams. And then we get the Cardinals plus 450. Now shop around, people, because you can also find the Cardinals at plus 575, taking a quick look. And then the longer shot is Seattle, not that much different though, plus $5. And I also see a plus 575 on Seattle. I don't think anybody's taking the Seahawks to win the division this year after they bring in Sam Darnold to replace Geno Smith. But as far as the NFC West, where does the conversation start for you?
With the favorite, it should. And I think my initial reaction to San Francisco was, ooh, they lost a lot on defense. And we've discussed these names, right? You lose Greenlaw, you lose Hufanga, you lose Ward, your starting corner, one of your corners. And on the surface, it looks like it's a lot to replace. But they went defense heavy in the draft. And they took Williams from Georgia on the D-line, Alfred Collins from Texas on the D-line, and that I like Nick Martin a lot at linebacker. He went to Oklahoma State. They went round 1, 2, 3, defense, defense, defense. And arguably the most impactful move of the entire division is San Francisco bringing back Robert Saleh to run the defense. He was always a very solid defensive coordinator. Young players improved, got better, and fit the mold. So you bring in Mikael Williams and Alfred Collins and Nick Martin, there will be some growing pains there. But there's no doubting the talent. You just have to develop the talent. And there are not many guys. I mean, you go back the last, 10 years. I think the best defensive coordinators are Spags, Fangio, Saleh, and Eberflus. No, I'm kidding on the last one. But in all reality, Saleh's one of the best to develop and build a defense that sustains, that knows how to take away what you do well, that wins the wars on third down. This defense could be better than it was last year when, remember, it was crippled by injuries. You had so many guys that were just banged up and then everything fell apart. I think if this defense can be at the level that Saleh expects it to be at, they could definitely win this division. It also helps that you play a lot of bad quarterbacks and a very easy schedule.
Oh, such a soft schedule. They're going to need that A-plus effort they got before out of Robert Saleh that got him the head coaching job in New York. Because those three rookies that you mentioned, and there's more for depth, but those three that you mentioned could very well be starters. Day one starters on Saleh's defense. So that's going to be big. On the offense, they also move on from Debo. So after paying him a couple years ago, they move on from him. They pay the quarterback. So constructing this roster is going to be more of a challenge moving forward. Now your receiver is Ayuk, coming off an injury. Ricky Pearsall, Juwan Jennings. That's a little different than how things were looking a couple of years ago with this team. You're going to need a ton out of Kittle again. I question what we're going to get out of McCaffrey now coming back. How is he going to be able to put together an entire season? There are a lot of questions on the offense, and we trust Saleh, but I think it's fair to question the defense when you're going to be asking so much out of rookies to start this season.
And now the pressure is on the quarterback, who we should definitely bring up. Just got paid $50 million a year, Brock Purdy. He has to be one of their best players. And that's not exactly something that's bold, but when you pay the quarterback has to be, if not the best player, the second best player on offense. Because you do have McCaffrey, and I think his ceiling is much higher than Purdy's. But there's no more excuses for Brock Purdy. There's no more conversation about is he worth this or is he worth that? Because he got the money. It's his. Now he has to elevate his play. And he has to be not the ninth best player anymore. He has to be the second or third or fourth best player. And if he's not, this thing could sink. But they are favored. The respect is real. And usually Shanahan finds a way to get to 10 games, 10 wins, rather. Just look at the track record, man. They win regular season games. He's done it everywhere. As a coach, as a coordinator, they are constantly able to get to that number. Look at his career in San Francisco. Now, last year they go 6-11. But before that, 12, 13, 10. You know, he gets these guys where they need to be on offense. And many people have argued for a long time the schematics are greater than the talent. And we will find out without Debo if the schematics are greater than the talent.
Our buddy Adam Chernoff is high on the Rams this year. I want to say he was high on them last year. The defense is phenomenal. Offensively, I have questions. What are you going to get out of Matthew Stafford again? They ended up keeping him. Now Cooper Kupp is gone. They replace him with Devontae Adams. So you got Adams and Puka on the outside. That's pretty threatening. You got a strong run game with Kyron Williams and Blake Corum. I do question the offensive line. They're usually dealing with a lot of O-line injuries, and when they went through their struggles, that's what was going on last year. Coleman Shelton is now the starting center. At least that's how he slotted in. So I wonder about that O-line against a pretty old Stafford, but you really can't question the defense. Kind of like the opposite the conversation we typically have with McVay teams. But, you know, the Niners win total is 10.5 juice to the under. And the Rams is 9.5 juice to the over. So it's really close between these two teams.
No doubt. I have told you a couple times already this year, I'm going to be buying a lot of Puka Nacua stock. I think he is going to shine very bright. And you can find him 20-1 offensive player of the year. I was actually reading, you brought up Brad Evans earlier. I was reading the Gaming Juice. He was advocating for Nacua to lead the league in receiving yards, which you can find at 14-1. You know, he was such a monster last year, and that's with the injury. I think he only played, 10, 11 games last year, and still had the targets and had the yards. If he can stay on the field, you know, you're talking about a guy who could easily get 1,500 yards and 10 touchdowns. And that, you know, that might still not be enough, but in his rookie season, he was second in the running for Offensive Rookie of the Year. You know, Lamar, or not Lamar, Jesus, Lamar's at the top of my board here. Stroud 1, Nacua 2 in Offensive Rookie of the Year. Now, Stroud was dominant. 4,000 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 5 picks. But, man, Nacua had, 105 catches, 1,400 yards, 6 touchdowns. He is trending in the right direction with a quarterback who now trusts him after, 28 games in the league. Played 11 last year and had, 106 targets, 79 catches, 990 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I think this would be a good time to buy his stock. Evans likes most yards. I like Offensive Player of the Year, 20-1.
Repeat what you just said, 106 targets in 11 games. Whoa. That's big. And one game he got injured against Detroit. That was a 4-target game. You kind of got to throw that out because he obviously didn't play that much in that game. So, we're getting double-digit targets at least every single game, and now you don't have Cooper Kupp in the mix. Devontae instead, probably an upgrade based on what we saw to Kupp at the very end. So we're not going to be – I don't think we're going to be anti-Rams like we were last year. It was just one of those things where everybody was jumping in, and we're like, come on. And they just kept going and going. So credit to everyone that was on that. Arizona, here's a team that you like. And you look at Jonathan Gannon's defense, they have made a lot of changes, a lot of potential upgrades here. It's looking like 5 new starters. One of them is going to be Josh Sweat coming from the Philadelphia Eagles. Bunch of changes on that defensive line. They bring in Dalvin Tomlinson. They're looking to make some upgrades there, and they know that's what they need to do. So the expectation is this Cardinals team does take a leap forward. But as always, it's all going to go back to Kyler Murray and how invested he is.
Yep, it always does. There was a very funny trend a couple years ago that was just following the release of the new Call of Duty game.
Yep.
And it was usually around October, November. And there was this faction of people on X that would say, okay, you can bet the Cardinals up to a certain point. Whenever the new Call of Duty comes out, abort mission. There was a lot of life in that theory that maybe Kyler was a little too invested in the sticks and not in the freaking football season that he was in the middle of. But to your point on the defense, so they took Walter Nolan in round 1, Will Johnson, the corner, round 2, Jordan Birch, round 3, Cody Simon, round 4, Denzel Burke, round 5. They went defense in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
And then brought in, 4 players via free agency, which you already alluded to, Sweat and Tomlinson. Calais Campbell is back in the mix, who is 38 now. They could be better this year. And I'm glad we spent no time on Seattle.
We do have to bring them up. Their win total, some spots 7.5, others 8.5. And Sam, if you look at it, they did go 10-7 last year. They were tied for the best record in the division. Should they have been? I don't know. They did great on the road. They struggled at home, but 7-1 record on the road. Geno Smith is gone. Now it's Sam Darnold. You've got a couple of the receivers, top-notch receivers, gone. I'd say Metcalf is. Lockett, not so much anymore, but both of them are gone. And now it's Cooper Kupp and MVS at receiver 1 and 2 spot. You bring in Clint Kubiak after they fire the offensive coordinator at the end of the year. I'm not sure what to do with this team. How about you?
I look at Sam Darnold and just can't get there. Yeah. If you take his whole career as a starter, 35-38, that's his quarterback record. 35 wins, 38 losses. Last year, the Vikings went 14-3. We can't ignore, we can't remove, but if you wanted to, let's take last year out of it. As a starting quarterback, he's 21-35. That 14-3 really bolstered the record, huh? Holy cow. That's the debate. Do you put a lot of stock into last year, or do you put a lot of stock into his career, where he's 4-9, 2-10, 4-7, just an average quarterback? So an average quarterback is going to get you to 7 or 8 wins. What's the win total? 7.5. Mm-hmm. That's sort of the handicap, I think, from the guys behind the counter. Well, we know San Francisco and LA have higher power ratings, obviously. And there's a little bit more of a ceiling in terms of like a higher ceiling on Arizona than Seattle. So let's just slap a 7.5 there and see what happens. Let the money dictate where we move. And it hasn't moved that much. I was never a Darnold guy. I never bought the hype last year. Never thought the Vikings were going to win NFC, Super Bowl, anything like that. In fact, I can't wait for McCarthy this year. I'm a big McCarthy guy.
Looking forward to it.
I go under. I think this is a 5-12 team. 5-12 on Seattle.
I was just going to ask you, is this the last place team in the division? And I think you just answered it, obviously. Yep. Huh. So we should probably go the fade Darnold move, I guess. You go over Minnesota, under Seattle.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Can we parlay it?
Probably. I would think so.
We could.
At least some spots.
What's Seattle for the worst record?
Whoa. That's a leap. Yeah.
50-1. 5-0.
I don't trust them a lot. Somebody's going to be in last place. And these are tough division games. We like all 3 of the other division teams. It could be rough. But Mike McDonald did a good job in his first year. That's where I do have a little bit of hesitation. But we see downgrades at quarterback. You agree downgrade at receiver at both spots? I do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you lost Metcalf and Lockett.
And you're replacing it with MVS and Kupp. What does Kupp have? He's your number 1 now? What does he have left? And he was in a great offense last year. Terrific offensive mastermind. And we saw that he didn't have much last year with Puka on the other side.
SN, please.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about your guy. Is he going to hold this team up by himself? Darnold?
I don't know that
Trust him with
DK.
Darnold?
Yeah, I don't know that DK is a total downgrade. I don't know.
From Cup?
For a team that needs to win games. If you're putting JSN, like they're not the same player. Lockett had to go.
Oh, JSN was the
I
one
don't know.
last year. That was a misstep by me. I forgot
he's
him.
going to be
He
your
was the
one
one
again.
Yeah, right.
Cup
right.
is a 2/3, not terrible. Like,
Yeah,
again, I'm the one that threw the idea in the chat. Are they worst record bad? I think you bring up a really good point about McDonald, and I trust him. Darnold is the reason for me. Like, look at maybe most interceptions. That could definitely happen, right? He's playing the whole season, right?
You agree they're worse in the division, though, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I think
I'm
so
high on the
too.
Cardinals, too. I'm with you guys.